I bought D4 at launch, all the way back on June 5th, 2023, and I spent a full $70 on it expecting to at least like it a little bit and get my money's worth. I logged in, played for about 20 levels, got bored, and left. Among other problems at the time, there were multiple enemies that could basically permastun you, and me personally, I got really tired of having to stay still for 8 seconds and watch a bunch of demons have a way with my lifeless corpse. Season 2 rolls around, Blizzard says, hey, we fixed some things, and I said, hey, I paid you $70, I hope you fixed something, and it turns out they didn't do much. Season 3 rolls around, Blizzard says, hey, we fixed some things, and of course they didn't, so I use my missing $70 to force myself into trying the game again. Then Season 4 rolls around, I pull myself out of the same trash can where I threw that $70 an entire year ago, and try one more time to enjoy Diablo 4. I told myself that I would give it a good, solid effort this time, do it for that one review video that you keep promising people, at least finish the campaign. It wasn't easy at first, but eventually I actually started to like Diablo 4, but just the campaign. I had no desire to go into the endgame, and I definitely don't think I'll be interested enough to buy the expansion. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't be. I want to start by saying Diablo 4 is not a bad game. I know the whole D4 bad thing is a great meme and for the most part entirely justified, but after a year's worth of updates, I can definitely say that it's in a much better place than it was at launch. So because of that, I want to start this video talking about the things that I like about D4. First things first, it's bloody, very bloody, and that's great. Sometimes a bit gratuitous, but honestly, I like the over-the-topness of it all. It sets a great tone for the game and helps me to take the game more seriously. I'll be running around the map looking for something to do and come across a cultist camp that has like 10 different bodies impaled on stakes. I'll beat the cultists with my hammer and blood flies everywhere. You got your blood magic, blood demon summoning, blood splatter. You smash a huge ugly lady demon and get a little bit of something on the cold grade lips of this guy. The boss's art design is amazing. They definitely look like monstrosities summoned to perform evil acts on behalf of some truly evil people. And for the most part, I feel like they do a good job building up the villains of the story. Some of the minor characters, meh. But that's obviously why they're minor. I think they did a really good job building up Lilith and Elias, but I won't get into too much of the story because I don't want to spoil this for anyone who hasn't completed the campaign yet. I think another thing that I liked was the fact that they really tried to make callbacks to D2. I know sometimes this can get a little nostalgia baity, but I kind of like that they did it. This is a Diablo story after all, and they tried super hard to make sure that you remember that. I know I'm kind of making a big deal out of something that's pretty normal for sequels, but it's nice to feel like I'm finding out what's next in the story, like I'm part of the battle between heaven and hell, and the events that took place in previous games actually meant something to the people of the world. I don't hear too many callbacks to D3, which may just be because I don't remember D3's story too well, but it's kind of funny to me that they're just reaching back to events and characters of D2 instead, but again, maybe that's just me not remembering well enough. Someone who's more of a Diablo lore buff, please comment and let me know. Overall, the story's pretty good. I like the idea that you're chasing this overpowered evil MILF and her sidekick, Mr. Baby Powderface. This campaign is a little slow at the beginning, but really picks up after a while. There are several big battles with unique enemies that get more intense as the story progresses. I also like that the campaign is much more cinematic than other ARPGs because at this point, I don't really need another mob grinder like PoE or Last Epoch. D4 is more focused on the story and theme, and that's what I'm here for. I will say that because the campaign is very cinematic, the pace of the game slows significantly. I wouldn't come into D4 expecting a fast-paced action thriller, but rather a slow, impactful drama, at least compared to other ARPGs. Animations and voice acting in and out of cutscenes are phenomenal. I feel like that's one thing Blizzard doesn't really miss with, and the Blizzard art team should honestly get a raise because they really put some work into these environments. So Diablo 4 presentation and story, solid A-. It feels like a Diablo game, and while not perfect, it certainly entertains me. But that's kind of where my praise ends. Unfortunately, that's not what I play ARPGs for. I play ARPGs for the demon slashing, the monster thrashing, the big boss booty smashing, and the glorious beauty of the loot crashing on the floor. This is where Diablo 4 loses my interest, the skills, stats, and loot. I want to say this in the nicest way possible, but this skill tree is bad. And let me spend just a little bit too much time explaining why this skill tree is no bueno for me. It's oversimplified.
Sick.
You can have 6 abilities on your skill bar at any given time, and you can mix and match any skill from this tree that you decide to build into. For example, I was a barb named Burb, and I really wanted to try a spin to win build, so I took Whirlwind. Whirlwind is a spender ability, or as the game calls it, a core skill. So I needed a builder ability to build up Fury so I can spend that Fury on Whirlwind. I chose Frenzy, one of the basic skills, the set of builder abilities that are the most reliable at building up resources to use on your more powerful spender spells. So I have 4 more skill slots to fill, and there are 4 more sets of skills to choose from. For the Barbarian, you have defensive skills, brawling skills, weapon mastery skills, and an ultimate. You can mix and match any number of defensive, brawling, and weapon mastery skills, but you can only be spec'd into one ultimate ability. The other classes have a similar setup with 6 different skill types to choose from and a key passive. So here's where the simplification kicks in. There are 58 skill points in the game. No matter what combination of skills you use, you can only have 6 on your skill bar. So naturally, you're going to want to have points in 6 different skills on the tree. Your first 5 skills can be given 5 points each to raise their stats in the most uninteresting way. Your ultimate, which is extremely powerful and would be hard not to have on your skill bar, can just take 1 point. This is already 26 of your 58 points. Half of your points are just slight stat upgrades to skills you already have. But okay, you technically aren't forced to go vanilla and put 5 points into each skill. Let's talk about your other options like skill upgrades. Each skill has this tiny little tree of 2 options that you can choose from to alter your skill a tiny bit. Maybe it's more damage, maybe more attack speed, maybe some damage reduction, but it's usually some form of small bonus when using that skill. You have 2 options per skill and you can only take 1. Just 2 options. That's all you get. Any more and your brain might explode. And your ultimate ability doesn't give you any options. If you want to upgrade your ultimate, this is what you get. But you may have noticed while I've been showing you this brilliant tree that there are these extra little trees on the side not associated to any skill in particular. These are your passive skills, and boy are they really not exciting at all. Gain X% extra life, X% damage reduction, deal X% extra damage to close enemies. I understand the practical use of this. I mean, it makes you extremely powerful if you do it right, but it doesn't make me get excited or think about trying a specific build out. When I choose a passive skill, it just feels like I've run out of places to put my points and now I'm just grabbing extra stats. Again, I understand that this is how you build out your character's abilities and get into more difficult content. I know that Path of Exile and Last Epoch and Grim Dawn and any other ARPG, they all have some basic passive skill nodes at times. But I think what makes these passive skills seem so much more boring is that they aren't really leading to anything exciting. There isn't any intricate combination of skills and stats that you're looking for. No cool passive skills that would really make you think about the way you play the skill or your character's build. In my experience, after I finished putting all my points into my 5 skills and my ultimate, I had used up about 38 points. So really, by level 40-ish, I was done altering my main skills. And mind you, only 18 of those were actually exciting, giving me something new to enjoy in my gameplay. To say it more bluntly, around level 25 to 30, my gameplay was mostly set, and there wasn't much else to break that up. The only mechanic that I was engaged with after that are the legendary skills from weapons, and that, although sometimes really fun depending on what legendary skill you use, makes loot feel kind of worthless. The legendary abilities are passive abilities that make your character extremely strong in some way, either by triggering defenses or altering your skills that make a huge difference in your character's power. If you play D3, this will seem very familiar to you. The only problem I have with this system is that it makes the chase for loot kind of pointless. Your gear has no identity. Any piece of gear can carry any legendary ability as long as it's the correct base type. Really, your gear is only a stat device that can carry legendary abilities, which means that any loot that falls on the floor becomes pretty uninteresting unless it has a legendary ability. Yeah, if you're getting into difficult content, I'm sure that you're more inclined to care about the individual stats on gear and the 1% difference it makes to your defenses or damage to specific enemy types. But for your first campaign playthrough, you are stuck on World Tier 2, which for a normal ARPG player doesn't really seem that difficult. Once I had a couple of legendary abilities and an ultimate, all the fights boiled down to running around, slashing things to build up fury, using my chains to make the enemy vulnerable, and then using my extremely overpowered ultimate ability, aka the delete button. Even the final boss fight was made absolutely trivial because I had great defenses and an ultimate ability that could take out a small nation if given the opportunity. Unfortunately, this loses my interest pretty quickly. Again, the campaign is totally fine. In fact, in some cases, I feel like the boss fights in the story truly caught my attention and had me excited to find out what happens next. But as soon as the campaign ended, as soon as I was faced with the decision to do repetitive content to attempt more difficult bosses or start a new character to try another build, I just couldn't justify spending any more time with Diablo 4. Not while any of the other hundreds of games in my gaming backlog are calling my name, begging to be given a chance. It's not that D4 is bad, it's not bad. I just don't think I'm the target audience for what it has to offer. I like stats, I like loot, I like build customization. I like more of this than what D4 has to offer. I like to have more skill points, I like to have more build options, I like to have more exciting abilities and more power in my character given to me at later levels, changing up my gameplay in ways that a low-level character couldn't. I want goals and achievements that I can work towards rather than just a mindless grind for loot because your skill points are basically already set. I didn't even get to the Paragon system because I was bored before I got to level 50. So it's been a while since my last video, and after that video I plan to do this review on Diablo 4. I actually wrote this entire script, long enough to make a 20-minute video, like 4 months ago. But after writing a review and playing the game so much, I realized that the bulk of Diablo 4 just kinda leaves me bored. So much potential, but no execution. Like so many times I would finish part of the campaign thinking, man, that cutscene was awesome, or holy crap, I'm about to fight this cool looking boss, and then I get into the fight and the actual gameplay completely falls flat. While I was writing all this stuff out for the review, I actually had a little epiphany. One that I think I really needed, not just in my gaming and YouTube career, but in the rest of my life too. Diablo 4 was a reminder that not everything is made for me. I'm not going to think that every game is perfect, even if it's from a series that I love. Sometimes a game is made a certain way, fundamentally different than what I personally enjoy, and that's okay. Because for all the casual ARPG enjoyers out there who don't have the time or attention span for games like Last Epoch or PoE, they have Diablo 4. I actually realized this when I went to rugby practice and I was talking to one of my teammates and he was going to go home and play D4 with his gaming friends. I was actually shocked, like this was 2 months ago. I didn't realize that I would have someone in my everyday life that would play Diablo 4 with friends and not for the meme. But when I asked him why he liked it, he just said, I press buttons and demons die. I tried to reason with him, ask him why he hasn't tried Path of Exile or Last Epoch, Grim Dawn, or anything other than D4, and he just responded, I don't know, I just know Diablo is fun, so I stick with that. And after he said that, a little light bulb went off in my head. I realized who I was talking to. This guy isn't perpetually online. He's not watching YouTube videos all day. He isn't playing or thinking about video games for the majority of the day. He is a true casual gamer. Now, you may think that this is a bit of an overreaction, maybe a bit dramatic, and it totally is, but I'm not finished yet. After that, I left rugby practice, came back home, and read my Diablo 4 review script. I had 20 minutes of reasons why I didn't like the game. 20 minutes of things that I thought I could improve by making it more like this or more like that. And I thought about it with my rugby friend in mind. Why? Why should it be changed to fit what I think would make the game better? Diablo 4 has been out for a year now. It has its player base, and just because I'm not in it doesn't mean the game is bad. The game is perfectly fine, and I think it's always going to be fine. Diablo 4 is an okay game for me, but a great game for somebody else. Does it have to be a masterpiece? No, because at the end of the day, it's fun for someone else. And I had felt this way about games before, mostly in the MMORPG genre. For these games, I just have to play it and enjoy it for what it is, or don't, and realize that I don't have to play this game. And that sent me for a loop, man, because after thinking that way, I got some major writer's block. I couldn't think of anything to say about Diablo 4 that made sense. Everything I could think of came back to me just not personally enjoying what the game had to offer. I ended up not making that video. For a while, I didn't make any videos. I only came back now because I missed making content in general, and I felt like I finally needed to get this review off my chest. But even though I will probably not be the first in line to purchase the expansion, I do appreciate my rugby friend and Diablo 4 for keeping me grounded. I mean, I just got married, and pretty soon I'm gonna have a kid. So I'm about to be a true casual gamer. Diablo 4 has still, to this day, confused me as to whether or not I like it, but I want to end this video the same way that I started it. Diablo 4 is not a bad game. I know the whole D4 bad thing is a great meme, and for the most part, entirely justified, but after a year's worth of updates, I can definitely say that it's in a much better place than it was at launch. I don't want you to think that D4 isn't worth trying. For me, I spent time with the game, but I think it's time to move on. Don't let that prevent you from trying it out and having a good time with it. I'd love to hear what your experience with D4 has been, good or bad. Leave a comment letting me know, because maybe it'll help me get more enjoyment out of the game in the future. I don't know if I'll be buying the expansion, maybe if it goes on sale, but I already bought the base game, so who knows, maybe I'll come back someday. But most importantly, I hope you enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you liked it, and subscribe for more content just like this. I hope you found a way to love your adventures within the world of Sanctuary, and I can't wait to see what we talk about next.